Joining me now is Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe. Well, Premier, the Supreme Court ruling is not a decision your province hoped for. What's your reaction to it?
Well, I think we're disappointed that the decision turned out this way, but we do respect that decision. We'll be moving forward, as I said, on a number of items. It doesn't mean in any way that we agree with the decision or agree that a carbon tax is a way to effectively reduce emissions to any amount. There's other methods that will substantially reduce emissions. And those are methods that we have been actually working collaboratively, not only with the federal government on over the course of the last number of years, but working with industries here in Saskatchewan to ensure that they're achieving targets that have been set out by both the federal and the provincial government. So disappointed in today's decision, but most certainly that is why we have the Supreme Court, is to clarify when we have disagreements such as this.
So the Supreme Court, part of the decision was that a federal government has the constitutional right to set minimum standards, so kind of a minimum threshold, and then it's really the Supreme Court doesn't tell provinces what they have to do. They just say that the federal government can set that. Do you think a Made in Saskatchewan climate plan, rebates at the pump, whatever you decide to do, could hit the same greenhouse gas emissions targets that this particular Liberal government wants? And could you convince them that's good enough and the equivalent of their rising price on carbon?
No, I don't think that the carbon tax is going to help in any substantial way in achieving the targets that this federal government has, or that even provincial governments have, in reducing emissions. I don't think it's an effective policy. In particular, it isn't effective in the province of Saskatchewan. What is effective is, for example, our plan of prairie resilience, of which the federal government has accepted. It has an output-based heavy emitter program, setting targets by industry, and targets that are being achieved in many cases by the vast majority of the industries in the province. So I've never felt that a carbon tax is an effective plan at actually reducing emissions. We've always disagreed with that, and I think, in fairness, we've represented the majority of Saskatchewan people that feel the same way. So that I think in substance is the disappointment that we have in today's ruling. The minimum standards piece that was put forward, and I would point towards the dissenting opinions, where this does open up some concern, not only for myself and Saskatchewan people, but I think concern for all Canadians, that this may be used, potentially could be used by the federal government to venture into other areas of provincial jurisdiction. And I would hope that's not the case.
Right.
There is a better, more collaborative conversation that can happen.
Yeah, that was one of the dissenters, Russ Brown and Malcolm Rowe. That was answered in the majority's opinion, as you know, saying that this does not necessarily set a precedent to intervene in terms of what's a national concern and the thresholds there. But you're right, that was certainly part of the dissenting opinion. Just finally then, the Liberals now do have the price on carbon. Will Saskatchewan now put the price on carbon, and as long as this government's in power, you have to comply with that minimum standard?
Well, there's a number of things that Saskatchewan will do as we move forward. One, we will replace Justin Trudeau's carbon tax with a Made in Saskatchewan solution when it comes to reimbursing the bulk of the carbon tax right at the pumps to Saskatchewan people. We've asked for our power and energy companies to come under the provincial plan rather than the federal plan. We've asked to be funded to the level other provinces have been through the Low Carbon Economy Fund. We're short about $126 million, and this would be a great opportunity for the federal government to treat Canadians that live in Saskatchewan, and yes, we are still Canadians that live here, to treat us the same as they have treated Canadians in other provinces and territories across the nation.
Right.
So we do have some requests here today, but we do accept the ruling, and we will be moving forward in a collaborative fashion.
If they don't accept what you're doing, and I've talked to the Environment Minister about this, will you accept the federal quote-unquote backstop, where they say you're not doing what the minimum standard that we want you to do, we'll do it for you? Then what?
Well, that's where we are now, and the federal government chose to move forward with the backstop, even in light of a number of provinces, about half the provinces are better, asking the question at the Supreme Court of Canada. So we will be putting forward a plan that will be similar to what has been accepted from other provinces. We need to tailor it, of course, to Saskatchewan needs, but we will be working collaboratively. We respect the decision that's here today. We'll be doing what we can to work collaboratively, but also protect Saskatchewan families and jobs in the best way that we can.
Just quickly, today the Deputy Prime Minister, Chrystia Freeland, and the Finance Minister proposed a one-time $7 billion payment to provinces, territories, and cities and First Nations community. $4 billion of that would be a one-time bump to the Canada Health transfer. The provinces were asking, I know, for about $28 billion. But what is your answer to that? That's real money.
Yeah, it is real money. It's one-time money. It goes. It's a fraction of what the provinces have asked the federal government, the space they've asked the federal government to step into, space that they did previously occupy, and bringing their funding in the CHT up to 35% on an annual basis. So, the funding is appreciated. But again, we'd say that the federal government does need to become a full funding partner in healthcare in this nation. At current time, they just most certainly aren't. So the ask is for much more of a partnership than what they put forward today. But in saying that, this funding is appreciated.
Right. It's a little ironic. Healthcare is a provincial responsibility, but cooperative federalism, you're asking the federal government to pay their fair share. Then on the price on carbon, you're saying get out of our jurisdiction. So what's the principle of federalism that you accept?
We're saying let's work together when it comes to a carbon tax or climate policy, which we have with our heavy emitter program, which we have with our equivalency agreements around coal and methane. And on the healthcare front, this did begin as a 50-50 partnership. Right. It slipped down to about 20% federal share, and we're asking them to come back to 35%.
All right. Well, listen, Premier Moe, always good to have you on the program, sir. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Evan. You have a great week.